Welcome to Talkin' Bengals, your home for innovative insights into all things Bengals. Follow Talkin' Bengals on Facebook and Instagram at Talkin' Bengals or listen on your preferred podcast app. Now, let's start talking.
Hello and welcome into Talking Bengals. What a fantastic week to be a Bengals fan. I mean, literally one of the greatest performances in the regular season that I can remember in my lifetime. Just an exciting game. Just back and forth between the Vikings. Just if you didn't get a chance to watch it or at least listen to it, you totally missed out. You have to watch the replay. It was fantastic. We're going to get into that and a whole lot more tonight. So I'm joined by Hoop and Josh. Hoop, how we doing?
All right, Houday, baby.
Houday. Josh, how you doing?
Oh, heck yeah, Houday. Good day.
All right, so we got to get right into this Vikings game. I mean, holy cow. We're all over the place with our predictions last week and high-scoring blowouts, really low-scoring slugfest. We weren't sure which way it was going to go, and none of us could have predicted. I mean, honestly, when it was 17-3 right after the interception, I think we all were like, well, this might be it. It could be done. Maybe we find other things to do with our Saturday afternoon. Luckily, we didn't. We just like to talk smack, and we stick around to the end anyway. What a game. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Josh? What do you think?
I was not feeling very confident. They got up quick. The quarterback, he made some very questionable plays, and I feel like he is the reason why the Bengals stayed in. When that pass, as he was falling down right into B.J. Hill's face, that's probably the biggest reason why the Bengals ended up coming out with the win on that day. Other than that, I mean, when they got that last touchdown, the Vikings, I thought for sure it's over. There's no way they're going to be able to come back now. Move on to next week, and then the magic happened. So I was very surprised. I wish they would quit making it such a close game against these teams they should beat up on. But, I'm ready to move on to next week. Go ahead, Hoop.
Yeah, I don't know that. Honestly, I was just being overly optimistic on my score prediction last week, to be quite honest. No, I mean, the Vikings defense, obviously a formidable defense. They're, ranked in the top 10 in pretty much every category. There's a reason for that. They won a game 3-0, which means if you can shut out another professional football team, I don't care who that professional football team is, and only win by 3 points, right? 3-0. That's pretty good. I don't care what team you are and what team you're facing, but it still means that you have a pretty darn good defense. I think that we established our run game a little late with Joe Mixon and Chase Brown. When we were successful early on with that run on that first drive, we didn't capitalize on it in the second and the third drive. Obviously, late in that first drive, we only ended up with a field goal. Kind of took us a little bit of time to figure out that, hey, look, Joe Mixon and Chase Brown are getting us down here. Why don't we rely on them a little bit more? And quite honestly, Casey, I think if I go too much further, I'm going to want to go into key takeaways. Just an exciting game all around. I mean, who thought in a million years that our backup quarterback with the Bengals, right? I've been a Bengals fan for 30 years now. The Bengals backup quarterback would win 2 overtime football games. Who even thought that could happen? First of all. Second, wow. Casey, what do you got?
It's incredible to just look at the game holistically before we dive into each various area. But it's unbelievable. I don't understand even how it got that way. We've learned stop letting people other than the quarterback throw the ball. It hasn't worked. It has not worked at all. If you want to do a trick play, come up with something else, maybe a double reverse. I don't know. Try something other than having someone other than a quarterback throw the ball. Because every time he's tried that, it's ended terribly. I mean, he would have been better off just throwing the ball out of bounds. I don't understand what his logic, what Zach Taylor's logic was behind that. But other than that, he called a pretty good game. And this first subject I want to get into is Joe Mixon. Holy cow. I mean, you're stopped, what, a yard short of the end zone, literally hit square by a linebacker, and you're like, nah, bro, I'm going in, and just power yourself into the end zone. He's not great the entire game. He's going to wear down at some point. But in those power moments, and especially catching screens, he's been incredible this season. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Near the goal line, on those screen plays, he's fantastic. Hoop, I'll kick it back to you for some Joe Mixon love.
Oh my gosh, I've been loving on the man all year. Ever since he became a Bengal, I've been loving on him on the field. Not a fan of some of the press that he's gotten off the field, but of course, being a professional football player, if you're going out on the town, you're going to get bad press. Pac-Man Jones, great football player. You know, I felt like he had a good heart, just maybe had a little temper. Anyways, we'll stay on Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon.
Let's not digress yet. We're not even off the rails yet.
I'm trying to take us there. I'm trying to derail us. What are we, like 5 minutes in? Not even? Okay, 10 minutes. Anyway, so yeah, Joe Mixon. I've been loving on the man all year long. The guy's a workhorse. Getting him involved early on in the game is going to be the key to success. Between getting him and Chase Brown involved early in the game, that's going to be our keys to success the rest of the year. Joe Mixon, from the 5-yard line in, just give him the ball. Don't even worry about throwing it. Just give Joe the ball 4 times if it takes it 4 times, and Mixon will get in. He'll find the end zone. The man, he's a power runner. He's always been good, north and south. I've been saying it all year long, Casey. I've been saying it ever since Joe Mixon started playing for Cincinnati. Why are we running zone reads? Why are we running the stretch plays? Why? Why are we running the bubble screens to him? Just run him straight forward, right? Do a play action pass, and then throw him out in the flats because nobody's going to pick him up. Okay, those are good pass plays for Joe Mixon. But running him side to side, no way. His strengths, straightforward. He's great. Honestly, I've just been loving on the man all year long because you were talking pretty bad about him early on, Casey. You were talking about him pretty bad. Let's just be honest, okay? And I've been trying to keep you, try to hold you back. Like, hey, look, we're not giving him a chance to run the ball. We're only giving him like 10, 12 runs a game. Like what we were saying, the more you give the man the ball, the better he does. And just
that's why I gave you this topic, not Josh. I got one for Josh ready, but finish out your Mixon rant.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mixon you say that like he's going to wear down eventually. It doesn't seem like Joe Mixon wears down. It just seems like he gets stronger throughout the game. It seems like he makes his better runs in the toughest situations. So, I mean, that's just my take. I don't know what statistics say because I'm not a stats guy, obviously.
What?
But I am getting a lot better at math. I'm getting a lot better at math, but I don't like statistics when it comes to football because you're judging a human's capability based on a number, not on, not an actual ability. But anyways, Joe Mixon seems to be getting stronger throughout the game, seems to be getting stronger in the toughest situations. Keep giving the man the ball. Between him and Chase Brown, I don't think you can go wrong. Josh, take it away.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there for you, Josh, this topic. Chase Brown is the key to Joe Mixon's success, I feel like. The fact that he's emerged, he's been able to add a compliment. He's a home run threat. At any play, he can break one for a touchdown. So that's what he adds a totally different element to the game and is allowing Joe Mixon to be more dynamic because people are assuming it's going to be just one type of play if Joe Mixon's in. And he's been able to really work with that. He's been able to surprise people, shock people, and be a better player. But Josh, subject I got for you, talking about perceptions of players kind of puts me right in on this one. T. Higgins, at the beginning of the game, I think we were all just like, we're sick of who T. Higgins has been this year. not consistent, dropping easy passes. And I don't know, what are your thoughts? I mean, because he went from being like a guy we were all ready to kick his butt out of town to he's the savior. Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, that catch, him coming back to the ball, just the heads up play there, knowing that he was behind the quarterback at that point, and he had to step up, get in position, high point the ball, and then as he was falling out of bounds, reach the ball behind him over the goal line. He's lucky he is a tall guy, because most people could not get that ball over that goal line. That took every inch of his arm. And I mean, it was a great heads up play, really gutsy. It could have ended up with a fumble easily. But I mean, he showed that, yeah, you know what? He's had some drops. He's had some trouble this year. He's not quite been the most consistent. But when the moment's biggest, just like the past 2 years, when he needs to step up, he steps up. He shows that he can be a number one. Everyone goes through a case of the drops. It happens in everyone's career. Hopefully he's getting it done early. I don't know if he's going to be sticking around after this year. I would highly doubt it. I think he's going to end up being a number one on a different team. Just because the money that we're going to end up giving Jamar Chase, we can't pay all three of them the money that they're going to be owed. But I think T. Higgins is, when he's on, he's one of the best receivers in the league, especially at his size. He is a very tall guy for what you would see most receivers. He almost looks like a tight end, but he runs like a receiver. He can high point the ball on any corner. And I mean, he's a stud. And just happy that he was able to come out with that one, because earlier in the game, like Casey said, we were not feeling very confident about him. I mean, he dropped some passes that it's just not characteristic that you see him drop. But like I said, he came out when the moment needed him. And honestly, he's the reason the Bengals got to overtime in that game, because that ball was really kind of underthrown, but Higgins saw where it was, saw where he needed to be, and he made the adjustment. So I'll pass it off.
It's incredible to me, the fact that it seemed like on a single moment when Jamar Chase went down, the wide receiver coach basically, T. Higgins told him, it's time for you to be the alpha. You got to step up. And he did. And he just, took on that role. And maybe he got tired of playing Robin, the Batman. He wants to be Batman. He gets out there. He does an incredible job. And that play really made me think of the Chiefs game back in 21, where Burrow's like, F it, Jamar's down there somewhere. And that's kind of what Jake did. He's like, F it, T's down there somewhere. Just chuck the ball and hope for the best. And to me, it just shows so much character on T. Higgins' part. The fact that, you didn't give up on yourself. You had a couple really bad drops. I mean, the one hit him right in the hands and nobody was around him. Like, that's an easy routine catch. And then you come out here and you're mossing people. That just shows the ability to get yourself back up, focus your game, realize that your team needs you, and it's time to step up. I mean, speaking of stepping up, Tyler Boyd, goodness gracious, coming out of nowhere on some of these plays. And I mean, that catch, when you watch it, how is that not intercepted? There's 3 Vikings, and Jake just threads a needle in a window that was so tiny. How did that even happen? So, I mean, my rant's going to be on Jake Browning, because the guy played a heck of a game. He struggled at times. He had that interception. It looked bad, but he refused to quit. And he just kept trying and pushing, and he played beyond anybody's expectation. 17-3 with a backup quarterback, it's over. Everybody's thinking that this ball game's over. It's in the second half. There's no chance that this team is going to come back with a backup quarterback to make it happen. And probably my favorite quote, and I hope Cincy Shirts or somebody puts it on there, they should have never effing cut me. That was awesome. I mean, who hasn't wanted to yell that at somebody? Shouldn't have fired me, shouldn't have done this to me, whatever it is. But to go to your haters, go to somebody who did that to you, especially the way they did it, leaving him in a hotel lobby waiting to hear if he made the practice squad and just left him there. Yeah, that had to feel great. Yeah, so go Jake, slam your helmet down. They should have never effing cut you, but we're really glad they did because you're kicking ass in Cincinnati. There's our one PG moment there.
It's yours.
It's all me.
I kind of want to jump in on that too, especially with Jake Browning. I mean, look at the discipline, the integrity that he showed. Just to the face of adversity, just throughout those 4 quarters. I mean, he was good, and then he was having some trouble, and then he was good again. I mean, a lot of times quarterbacks can get in their own head and just screw themselves up. But Jakey B, JB6, that man he's a beast, and we'll be lucky to keep him next year. I think it'd be a good idea to keep him next year for just in case if Joe Burrow gets hurt again. That way we have a reliable, we know that we'll have a reliable backup to Joe Burrow. But Jake Browning, he's going to get his chance as a starter on another team very soon.
Well, he's an exclusive free agent or baseball term restricted free agent. I don't know which exactly.
Yeah, basically
He's not
Bengals
going
have
anywhere.
first rights.
As long as they put a league minimum contract in front of him, which I hope they give him a little bit more because he's earned it. Yeah, you put a league minimum contract in front of him, he's got to be like, okay, cool, this is my arbitration. I'll take it and go with it. But I think they'll give him a little bit more because he's earned it. But maybe his nickname is Jake effing Browning because he's just a man.
That should be it.
I think that's what we're going to go with. We're just now going to call him Jake effing Browning.
There you go.
Jake, and then FN, and then Browning.
Yep.
That way we keep it family friendly. Got to keep it family friendly here.
Respect on that man's name. He's earned it. So, I mean, so we did a good recap of the game. So, where do we want to take it next? I think we'll go to Houday history because cardiac cats is something I keep hearing about this week. So, we're going to take a look at that.
Before we move on, think about key areas of improvement that you saw in that last game. Things that we need to improve on for when we go into Crapsburg. And, what might frighten us going into it.
That's a good question. Josh, I'll let you run with the question first.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is going to be blitz pickup. Blitz pickup has consistently been a problem. Most of the time, the running backs we have are not great about blitz pickup. That's why you've seen Wilcox in there a ton as a quote-unquote fullback. Thanks, Wilcox. But, yeah, they're getting tight ends back there to play fullback because the running backs just are not doing a very good job of blitz pickup. And really, blitz is what got to Browning in that last Bengals play in regulation. He was getting chased down by 2 guys that came in basically untouched from the blitz, and luckily Browning was able to make something happen with it. Higgins was able to make something happen with it. Got lucky on that one, but that has been consistently the problem. That's what got Burrow hurt against the Ravens. Untouched, blitzer comes in, drops him right on his hand, and destroys it. Looked like it destroyed the Bengals season, but, I mean, Browning had something else to say about that. So I will pass it right back off.
Yeah, my improvement is going to have to be, yes, the defense made that great 4th down stop, but, I mean, what kind of coach runs the same exact play twice in a row and expects a different result? It's literally insanity. Without DJ Reader, somebody has got to step up. There's different ideas I've thought about. Personally, and you guys call me crazy if you want to, your best option on the interior line is going to be to move Sam Hubbard to a defensive tackle and put Miles Murphy in a more starting role because I don't think Zach Carter can play every snap. It's just not going to work. And if you mix that up, Nick's disagreeing. We'll let him get his opinion in a minute. But I think that's your best way to go.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
What?
Negative. Miles Murphy, put him on the interior where DJ Reader was.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll tear up those tackles and guards. With his quickness, screw size. He's strong, he's big, and he's quick. They don't know how to block that from the interior. That's coming from an interior lineman. When you have someone who's quick and strong like that, why not? Give him a chance. The man's already shown that he can tackle.
Well, prove me wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong by the Bengals.
They already have high hopes for him, right? That he's going to be a strong defensive lineman, right, at the DN spot. I mean, there's a little bit of difference between DN and D tackle, but not that much. You're still dealing with the defensive tackle or defensive guard or the offensive guard or tackle, and you're still having to get by him. You're still having to do your swim moves, your spin moves or bull rushes, however you go about getting past them. You still have to be dominant. You still have to show quickness. You still have to be able to maneuver to find where the run is going or where the quarterback's dropping back to. You still have to be maneuverable. I think that Myles Murphy, putting him there, could be a strong suit. You have 3 legitimate pass rushers between him, Hubbard, and Hendrickson. To cover your topic, I think one of my big key takeaways that I think that we really need to be concerned about going into Pittsburgh is covering the tight end. All year long, the tight end has killed the Bengals. Absolutely killed us. If we can't cover the tight end on a pass play, Crapsburg loves throwing to the tight end. The Chiefs love throwing to the tight end. The Browns have a great tight end. I hate saying it, but they have a great tight end. I can't say his name right, so I won't disrespect him, but he's a good tight end, right? We have to be able to cover the tight end. It's inevitable, or else they're going to get a jillion yards and just run up and down the field like what the Vikings did. And honestly, if the Vikings would have just given the ball to their running back and let him run the ball up and down the field, they would have won. Hands down, wouldn't have even been a close game. But they decided to allow that quarterback to keep throwing the ball, and he's just not good for NFL standards. Bless you, Josh.
Hey, thanks.
But anyways, yes, I think having Myles Murphy there, having Myles Murphy going down to the D tackle, that way you have 3 legitimate pass rushers. We've been talking about all year long. We need pass rushers, right? We need people to get to the quarterback. What better way to do that than to put somebody who should be playing defensive end at defensive tackle, right? Because now they have either Myles Murphy and Hendrickson on the same side, or Myles Murphy and Hubbard on the same side, and they still got to deal with B.J. Hill, right? You're not gonna double up on Hendrickson if you got Myles Murphy there, because they're gonna have to double up on him. And you're not going to double up Myles Murphy when you're going to have Hendrickson or Hubbard on the same side. So unless you're going to bring in a tight end and lose another target on a pass play.
It's definitely an interesting idea. I think it all boils down to, can you stop Najee Harris with that? If you can, then there's a lot of potential with that.
I mean, you look at the Colts, they won a Super Bowl with a small defensive line, and they were quick, powerful, and were able to get past the blockers. And that was the reason why they were able to win. On top of that, having Peyton Manning, but that's another story.
So do I have your permission to move into Who Dey history now, Nick?
Yes, please do. I had to talk about areas of improvement first.
No, I get
the
that.
biggest topics.
So, cardiac cats, the phrase is back. And it originally caught fire back in 2009. So for those of you young whippersnappers out there who don't remember the 2009 Bengals, you got to set the stage a little bit. So 2005, they were a great team. Coming into it, that was an awesome team. Palmer goes down. You think, okay, well, next year's our year. 06, not great. 07, yeah. 08, they weren't too bad. But 09, that was a team that could just come from behind. It didn't matter who they were playing. I mean, probably the most memorable win was against the Steelers at home, in my opinion, because they just came out. I think they were down 17 in the second half, and they came back and won the game. Andre Caldwell, who was our guy on our reception that we had on the article we posted on our website. So go check that out if you haven't yet. He was just critical that year. He didn't make a whole lot of catches, but he made timely catches. So what do you guys remember of 2009? Josh?
I mean, I can just read off the names. I mean, we're all going to know these guys. Leon Hall, who was just the ruler of the jungle this past Saturday. You've got, Ray Maualuga. I mean, you had some studs, some really good guys. Domatal Pecco. I love Pecco. Andrew Whitworth just retired. You got Jerome Simpson, who's famous for the flip into the end zone over the Cardinals back, and then Carson Palmer, Antoine Odom. You had some really good pieces, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's coaching, but if you're behind that much in that many games and you have to come from behind, yeah, I mean, as a football fan, it's awesome to see. You love watching it. But as a fan of that team, you hate every second of it. Until they come from behind and actually win, you absolutely hate it. That's what this year they're doing, and I wish they would just find some people and blow them out. Make us have a nice, calm game experience, being able to enjoy it instead of going crazy because they're getting double digits down and they got to come from behind, show some resilience. And, I mean, it's always nice to see, especially when the team as young as this one can do that. But, yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it off to you, Hoop.
Yeah, I mean, Caldwell, I mean, he's the modern-day Boyd or Irwin. I mean, just you knew he was going to catch the ball when the ball was thrown to him. And he's a tough guy. I just absolutely loved it when I knew that he was going to be the target when Palmer was throwing it to him. Him, Hoosh. I love Hoosh Benzada, obviously. I had like a 30-minute long rant when we did him as a Who Day history. I love Hoosh Benzada. Anyways, so, I mean, just a great guy. Come on. All right, Caldwell, another great guy. And, you know, he might not go down as one of the greatest football players, you know, to ever be a Bengal. But in my mind, he's one of the most memorable. Just the catches that he would make on timely third downs when we needed it. You know, second and longs. And just Palmer would just dump it to him and he would make the play. And just seeing those games when they'd come back, and I'm sitting in my college dorm room yelling and screaming at the TV. I got my roommates yelling at me, "Shut up!" And I got half the floor yelling at me like, "Come on, jeez, oh Pete's, Nick, we can hear you." I'm like, I know you can hear me. I'm cheering on my Bengals, right? It doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm going to yell and scream at the TV. Doesn't matter. It's the Bengals. But, I mean, just absolutely amazing to watch a team come back from a deficit to be able to win, especially when it's the team you're rooting for. And, I mean, Carson Palmer, that was like the last year, like in my memory for Carson Palmer, that he was there. Right. I mean, that was the year for Carson Palmer, if that was going to be anything for him as a Bengal. And wow, just to see the comeback against Pittsburgh, just loved it. What a great topic to come up on Steelers week. Golly, I love it.
It worked out.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, there's other aspects of the 2009 season that we're not going to get into on this Who Day history because it'll be a future topic. And then, of course, the disaster that was the TO experience. That'll be another episode of Who Day history, so tune in for those future times. But, yeah, just looking at specifically the cardiac Catlins and the fact that it was, yes, we're getting too old for that now. So if you could just please blow everybody out, we'd really appreciate it. Our tickers can't take it anymore.
Win by 30.
Win by 30 and we'll be okay. But speaking of Steelers, let's go into the dumpster fire. But I can never say that the Bengals will whoop up on the Steelers because it just doesn't happen. I wish it would, but they don't have any starting safeties playing this week. One's suspended for the year, one's hurt. They have what's his face, the other off Cam Hayward. He's in concussion protocol. Mitch Trubisky has now been benched. Mason Rudolph's in. Kenny Pickett could possibly come back, is what Mike Tomlin says, but I don't think so. But in all honesty, though, they still worry me just because they're the freaking Steelers. And if they can find a way to ruin a Bengals fan's day, they're going to find a way to do it. So going into Steelers week, what concerns you the most, Josh?
Well, I mean, there's mainly just one player, guy that can wreck an entire offense, TJ Watt. I mean, I can't stand him because he's a Steeler, but he is a darn good football player. I mean, that I think, and of course the coaching of Tomlin. He's been there, I don't know how long, 9 years, 10 years?
Forever. Oh, longer than that. He's been there forever.
I was going to say probably closer to 15.
Yeah, I don't know. Never had a losing season. Not one. I mean, how many coaches that long tenured with a team can say they've never had a losing season? Even Belichick can't. So, I don't know. I mean, the coaching is top notch. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. So you always have to be worried about what he's game planning for. You got to worry about TJ Watt. I don't think there's anyone worried about Mason Rudolph, but you never know. Maybe his third or fourth benching is going to wake something up in him. I don't know. But really, that's kind of it. I mean, their defense, with everybody being out, you can't really be worried about everyone on there, but you always have to know where Watt is on the field because he will beat up on any offensive lineman you have. And as we saw last year, both games against the Bengals, he was a big factor in both games. Granted, the Bengals won the second one, but he was basically the reason why the Steelers won last year, the first game against the Bengals. So I would say those are really the only worries I see against the Steelers, but I'll pass it off to Hoop.
I would say it's similar worries there with TJ Watt. Yes, he is a very, very good defensive end. I think with this new blocking scheme for Jake Browning, I think it's going to be a better blocking scheme all in all to be able to handle TJ Watt a little bit better. Of course, he's still going to get the pressures. He's probably going to get a sack or two. Just make sure it's not bad ones, right? Make sure it's not, a fumble. Make sure it's not, going to cause an interception. If you're going to get sacked, Jake Browning, just go down. If TJ Watt has both of his hands on you, just go down and just live to play another day. All right, be a Frenchie. But anyway, so.
Well, that'd be a British. The French wouldn't keep fighting.
Whatever. Well, I won't go into that debate. Anyways, so, but yeah, so I mean, obviously TJ Watt, he's always a concern when he's playing for the Steelers. He's always going to be a concern whether he's 100% or 70%. There's still going to be some form of pressure from him. My main concern is going to be the backup quarterback, because Bengals historically have made backup quarterbacks look like Tom Brady in his heyday. Covering the tight end and Najee Harris. We have to tackle. We have to cover the tight end. I think the rest is history from there. I think as long as the defense tackles, and tackles and not don't have missed tackles and can cover the tight end, I think the defensive backs are going to be able to cover the wide receivers. No issue. I mean, you do one-on-one with the, cover two over top, I think would be fine. Man zone or whatever you want to call, I think that the defense will be fine covering their wideouts. But offensively for us, blocking TJ Watt, making sure he doesn't get pressure on Jake Browning, keeping Jake Browning on his feet, right? Not letting him get hurt because TJ Watt will be coming. And I think the big key point going in, balance the run game. Chase Brown, Joe Mixon, have them heavily involved in this game. Control the time of possession and have them run the ball. Methodically work your way down the field. If a big play comes up where you can take it, take it. But methodically work it down the field, just like an AFC North football game is always gone.
You guys basically took all the fun stuff to talk about, just double D-bag Watt, and you'll be okay. And Najee Harris is the biggest guy to stop there. And just hurt Mason Rudolph a few times, and he won't want to keep playing. Don't bash him with a helmet. We can't afford to get anybody suspended for the rest of the year. But, just maybe, go after him, knock him down a few times, get him thinking he hears footsteps coming at him. And I think we'll be okay from that perspective. Offensively, I don't really have anything else to add. You kind of hit all the topics we need to talk about there. So, moving on to greener pastures and more fun things, playoff odds, the statistics, because we love statistics here.
We don't.
If the Bengals lose this game, they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs. But if they win this game, they have an over 50% chance to make the playoffs. So that shows that this game is critical. All the last three are going to be huge and important unless, every other team in contention just falls off somehow. But I don't think that's going to happen. But realistically, if you had to pick, who is gonna or how far they're gonna make it, what's realistically the chances of them going somewhere? Where do you think they're going? Hoop, what do you think?
The Bengals are going to make the Super Bowl and win it. Think about it, right? For the last three times that the Bengals have been in the Super Bowl, so all three times they've been in the Super Bowl, right? Starting quarterback all year long, Super Bowl, loss. Starting quarterback all year long, Super Bowl, loss. Starting quarterback all year long, Super Bowl, loss. Why not Jake Browning? Why not? Make it the story of the freaking millennium. Backup quarterback comes in midway through the season, winds up taking and leading the team into the Super Bowl, who's never won a Super Bowl before, and winds up destroying the team in the Super Bowl. Bengals, Dallas, Super Bowl. Bengals take it by 21.
Josh, where are you at?
Well, I'm not going to say he's the next Nick Foles, but
We don't have that Eagles defense.
yeah,
Not yet.
no. But I'm going to say I'm thinking they're probably going to take the Browns spot as the fifth seed. And that's where they're just going to sit. They're going to sit as a fifth seed. That would probably mean they're going to be going up against Jacksonville, assuming Jacksonville does win their division, which I like that matchup, going up against Jacksonville again. I like that matchup better than going up against the Texans again because for whatever reason, the Texans always seem to have the Bengals number, and Jacksonville just think it's a better matchup. So, if that plays out the way it does, then I would actually the Bengals making it to the second round. So you never know. You never know what could happen. Backup quarterback, he could be the next Nick Foles. This is basically exactly what happened. You had a quarterback that was playing phenomenal, gets hurt, backup comes in, leads his team to the Super Bowl, wins it, first Super Bowl ever for that team, and then they put a big statue out front of the stadium. I don't see that happening. But
There's some parallels there, but I think the difference is the Eagles were like the number one seed. They had the best defense in the league. And they'd clinched the playoff spot, if I remember right. Like he took over in the playoffs or right before the playoffs. I have to look it up. I'm not an Eagles fan, so I'd have to figure out
like
that history.
11-0 or something like that.
Yeah, but that was a done deal. So let's just dream here. If Jake Browning does win the Super Bowl with this team, you're talking about a team that was 5-5, then 5-6, and battled all the way back. that is a great story. I mean, that is literally a fairy tale type story if that could happen. Realistically, I see the Bengals sticking as the 6th seed. I see them having to play a very tough Miami team. But Miami's not good against good teams. So there's one of two ways that game is going to go. Either Miami by about 20 to 30 points, they're just going to out-track meet them and destroy the Bengals, or the Bengals win a close game. So I think probably a coin flip to see if the Bengals actually make it to the second round of the playoffs. But there's definitely a chance. I think they have the potential, and especially if they win a playoff game, the rest of the AFC is going to be terrified. You're not going to want to play them because they literally have nothing to lose. This isn't their only shot. This isn't their best shot. Next year, I mean, yeah, you're going to lose some people, but you're going to get back your MVP caliber quarterback. Your defense is going to have another year of experience in the secondary. They're just going to keep getting scarier. And so this team being led by a guy out of nowhere, that'd be terrifying to have to deal with, especially if they get a playoff win. So I think it'll be interesting. So Nick's got Super Bowl. Josh has at least making it to the division round, and I'm a coin flip making it out of the wild card. So the chances of them missing the playoffs right now, I hope it doesn't happen. We won't really know until the next couple weeks go by. But they're a legit contender at this point. I don't think they're a good for them. They made the playoffs team if they make the playoffs. They're a legitimate contender until somebody knocks them out.
All right, I just got to say this, okay? I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. How freaking nice is this to talk about legitimate contenders in the playoffs? The third freaking straight year. As a Bengals fan, all right? We've been waiting 30 years for this. 30 years! With 3 straight years as a Bengals fan, we're like, we have a legitimate shot.
It's awesome. And see, that I was going to say we should do our 3 cheers, but I think that is our 3 cheers right there for all of us, is we're cheering for a team that could make a run. Now, every week, you hear 2 weeks ago, oh, this team may sneak on in, but they're not going anywhere. After the game against the Colts, well, maybe they could cause a little noise in the wild card. But with every win they pile up, people are thinking, okay, this team, they don't have a great defense. The offense has a lot of good weapons, but they have a backup quarterback. But these are the teams that are scary. This is the team that sneaks into the dance in college basketball and just messes up all these number 1 seeds' hopes because you got nothing to lose. You don't have to play scared. You can play with reckless abandon. And that intimidates a lot of teams. And that's what the Bengals have done in the playoffs the last couple of years. You just go in there and you show people, we ain't got nothing to lose. So now I don't think they have anything at all. What?
Play like battle, man. Going in there like reckless abandon, just wham.
So, I mean, yeah, this has been a fun one tonight. So we'll go to our predictions. So Josh, take us away.
I think it's gonna be a little bit easier of a game for the Bengals. I think they're gonna disrupt Mason Rudolph enough. Hendrickson's gonna get in there, probably get 3 sacks himself. Hubbard's gonna be in there close by. They're just gonna beat up on that offensive line that is not really that great. And Browning's shown that he is able to get out there and get away from the offensive linemen and the pass rushers. So I think it's going to be a much easier game. He's still got T. Higgins. I think Higgins is going to have a huge game. Jamar Chase is not playing. I don't care what Zach Taylor's saying. There's no chance he's playing. But Higgins is going to be out there. He's still got these other guys. I think it's going to be a much easier game. I don't see the Steelers getting past 10 points maybe. That might be a max for them. Bengals, I'm going to say 30.
Yeah, I like it. So I'll go next. I'll let Hoop actually close us out with his optimism. Give us as much good stuff as he has for predictions here. So you do bring up a good point. Jamar Chase, he's not going to play. We mentioned Reeder earlier. He's out for the year. DJ Ivey, backup corner, he's out for the year. So, I mean, some substantial injuries came out of the Vikings game. But Just the last time the Bengals have blown out the Steelers has been almost my entire lifetime. They don't blow out the Steelers. There's been a couple, 15, 20-point wins here, there, wherever. But that's just not how this defense for the Bengals is working. I see this game being 24 to, I'm debating on 2, so 24-16, because one of those field goals is going to come from a great defensive play by the Steelers. They're going to get the ball deep in Bengals territory and be able to just, little chip shot field goal. So I think 24-16, it's not going to be as close as the score makes it, but the Bengals are going to get enough points to get it done, but it's not going to be a blowout.
All right. Let's
72
get
to
these
nothing.
other guys involved, right? I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. To quote those other guys. Anyways, but yeah, I think that those other guys are, I think those other guys are notable to talk about. I think that Tyler Boyd, Irwin, and the 3 tight ends that we have, between Wilcox and Sample and 87 names gave me Hudson. I think that is a notable crew when you're looking at it. Then on top of that, look at the other receivers that we have that nobody's even looked at, right? They do have skill. They're in the NFL, right? We're not in the NFL. They are. So obviously they're talented. They're talented enough to be there. This may be a chance to see what these other receivers got and let Chase have a week off to relax and see how the injury heals up, and allow some of these other receivers to get some time in to see how they can run some routes in a real football game, and to see whether or not it will be worth the money to keep T. Higgins next year. So, I mean, I think that you're definitely looking into that. So, game predictions. I think that Casey brings up a good point. I think that the Steelers defense will always have the Bengals will always have a tough time against Steelers defense just because they play each other twice a year every year. Just like the Bengals, Ravens, Bengals, Browns. It's every year. It's going to be like that every year. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout score-wise. I think it's going to be more 24-17, but I think that that 17 or that it's going to be 24-10 going into the last few minutes of the game. Steelers are going to come down and score a touchdown based off a defensive stop, and they're just not going to be able to get it done at the end. So 24-17.
Like it. So my hot take: Charlie Jones has 2 touchdowns this week.
Man, brother, I couldn't think of his name. I couldn't think of Charlie's name. Charlie Jones is one of the receivers that I don't think anybody is looking at, but he is talented as hell. There's my PG. He is so talented, and he's so fast.
2. Yeah, no, Charlie Jones is quick. If he didn't have that little stutter in that deep ball, that would have been an easy touchdown for him. That would have been a big catch, and that basically, I think that would have pulled the Bengals away and gave them a legitimate shot to just hold on to that game.
Yeah, I think so too. So, with that, any closing remarks or thoughts anybody wants to put out into the universe?
I would just like to take a moment to just recognize all that were lost in the Nakatomi Plaza.
I really am surprised that it took this long, Josh. I'm really this surprised because that is a legit Christmas movie.
I had to wait, and we also need to recognize the heroic efforts of one Mr. John McClane to liberate those captured. Save the day.
That is a legitimate Christmas movie. But all in all, I think never count JB6 out. Who day? Oh, also, major thing. Thank you for listening to our podcast. It would be great if we could get you to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, anywhere you can get your podcast at. Following us on YouTube does allow us to have a live podcast where we can have interactions with you guys and have a question and answer session where we can directly engage with you and make this a little bit more fun. Thank you.
Like Nick said, at Talking Bengals, Facebook, Twitter, or X as the kids call it, Instagram, YouTube, we're everywhere. Get out there, follow us. Great content comes out weekly. Got a new website getting ready to roll out here in not too much longer. Check us out there. We want your feedback. We are the voice of the fan. So give us your feedback. We'll incorporate it as much as we can. Enjoy your Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate, do it your way. Enjoy and hoo day.
Good day. Merry Christmas.